Good morning and welcome to the APJ Kolkata Literary Festival. Such a beautiful venue and how nice to walk through and come here. So well branded. The hospitality is great, so it makes you feel it's a great winter morning. We have two very interesting uh, writers, speakers here, and they're so popular that they were confronted before they got onto the stage. One is an influencer, another one is also an influencer, and I think students will mob them wherever they go. Parents will mob her and students will mob him, you know. So let's hear a little bit, and this is my curiosity. I want to know your CV was shared and read out, all of that. But I want to know from you, Riri, what got you to this profession? What was it? You know, who are you as a person?
Well, I have, my background is very different. I studied law, did my MBA, did a corporate job in Japan. And it was my own personal life challenges that made me turn towards yoga, spirituality, mental health. And in that journey, you know, some people call it midlife crisis, but I call it like awakening or the second life. In that, I explored the length and depth of mental health, you know, hypnotherapy, past life regression, and, you know, childhood trauma, all of that. And I went into the length and depth of all the research and all the area of in childhood trauma. And that led me to then completely go through a career change where I then, you know, got certified as a therapist. I started my own therapy center. Then did my PhD. That took a long time, like 7 years of doing that on childhood trauma. And then the outcome was the book. So the journey was I studied something completely different. And then I ended up working in a completely different area. And the book I wrote was has come from the conviction that whatever I have learned, understood, studied, seen in my practice with people needs to be communicated widely. People need to be aware. Because every single parent I spoke to told me that, wish we knew some things earlier. Wish as a parent I had known some of these things. I wouldn't have made these mistakes. So I realized that, well, with all good intentions, the methods may not be right. And for that, we need to build awareness. So then started my social media journey. You know, when people call me an influencer, it's an accidental influencer. I just started using Instagram to share everything I had learned, studied, and researched. And it was a creative expression for me. And I never realized when it became so big, because when I started, nobody was talking on mental health. So, and then I'm glad that, you know, people listen to it. And so I was thinking, how can a social media platform like bring about any change in a person's life? I was like, I wasn't aware of the power of social media back then. How can a 30-second reel change somebody's life? But when people wrote to me saying that one video that I heard, you know, about how to deal with my 5-year-old's tantrum, or that one video I heard about relationship, that completely changed my way of looking at things. And that kind of led me to go further in this area.
All right, so more questions on that for you later. And Vijender ji, आप कैसे यहाँ पर पहुँचे?
Well, thank you, Kolkata. Thank you, Sujata. Sujata, thank you. In fact, it's a relief कि मेरा जो सबसे पहला सवाल आया वो बहुत दिनों के बाद ये नहीं है कि मैं कैजुअली बैठी हूँ कि फॉर्मली, बिकॉज wherever I go, the first question generally coming from the youngsters, usually the host, the youngster, and they will take, sir मैं कैजुअली बैठी हूँ कि फॉर्मली बैठी हूँ और बैठा हूँ. So that way it is a pleasant break from, and being in a company of people from my age, that is also really wonderful. जहाँ तक ये बात है कि मैं यहाँ कैसे आया, आई एम सॉरी देयर आर नो रैक्स टू रिचेस स्टोरी हियर. जनरली वो लोगों को बहुत पसंद आती है. लेकिन आई वॉज ट्रेंड एज अ इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर. उसके बाद जब मैं इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग में था, देन आई रियलाइज़ कि मेरा झुकाव जो है, आई एम मोर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स हिंदी लिटरेचर. सो मैंने अपनी इंजीनियरिंग ख़त्म करके पेरेंट्स को दी और उसके बाद आई जॉइंड हिंदी. आई वॉज लिटरली किक्ड आउट ऑफ माई होम फॉर डूइंग सो, because back in 80s, early 90s, it was unthinkable that somebody who's trained as engineer will go to literature, वो भी हिंदी. अंग्रेजी लिटरेचर फिर भी समझ में आता है, but हिंदी लिटरेचर. Then I went on doing my master's, MPhil, PhD, joined university as. But accidentally, what happened that a friend of mine, Dr. Vikas Divyakirti, who was my roommate, teammate in the debating and all, he established this institution called Drishti, which later became a RAGE, more of a UPSC coaching institution, and they started this mock interview programs. And we were the first, I mean, Drishti was the first institution which started making it a social media thing, having it on the YouTube and things like that. In 2016-17, they started. It was so they had this first entry advantage, and then people start watching it, people start liking it and all. But मैं इन्फ्लुएंसर जो बना उसमें मुझे लगता है कि इसकी भूमिका ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इस सेंस में अभी लास्ट जो हिस्टोरिकल फिक्शन वाला सेशन हो रहा था उससे भी शायद ये चीज़ें इमर्ज करेंगी दैट पीपल एक्चुअली लाइक टू सी powerful being thrashed. I mean, somebody who's powerful or about to become powerful is being thrashed in a mock interview program. Somebody will be an IAS officer or IPS, is IAS officer and IPS officer, UPSC topper, and is being kind of thrashed in a mock interview. So it gives them that sadistic pleasure kind of a thing. So whatever. But that made me kind of a popular in the youngsters. But the fact is that I still believe that being a university teacher is my primary identity. That's what it is. And so this was the question, like Riri said, then that I realized that people are recognizing me. And then was the ethical question about as a teacher that what should I do with this influence or attention, to be honest, with me. And the only way forward told by media people was that monetize it. Monetizing is the best way of, but I somehow believe that I need to do something else. So I started working on, rather than monetizing, converting this attention to what I call influence and then later impact. So in a sense, this is मेरी साजिश जैसा है कि अगर आपने मुझे मेरी तरफ 4 सेकंड फालतू देख लिया और एल्गोरिथम्स ने आपको पकड़ लिया, तो मैं आपको फिर जो मेरा मैसेज है वो देने की कोशिश करूंगा, which may not be pleasant to your ears, but should be good. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. So my obvious question to both of you, can Gen Z be prepared for tomorrow? And are we in any position to prepare them, parent them, advise them and tell them how to face tomorrow and what tomorrow is all about? So first, you really.
So I love this question because as a part of my doctoral thesis, I have done a lot of study on this. We as a nation, we have the youngest population of Gen Z world over. मतलब सबसे ज़्यादा young लोग हमारे देश में हैं. So as a country, we have a huge demographic benefit from which we can reap demographic dividend. Demographic dividend is the economic growth we can achieve with the help of our young population, right? So we can be, if we dream to be the #1 economy, the one way to do it and the only way to do it is assuming that this young generation we have is going to work, is going to deliver, is going to be a part of the economic growth. The reality, however, is that all the research I went through also showed me that it is the Gen Z or this younger generation that is most vulnerable to mental health challenges, that has the highest impact of anxiety, depression, insomnia, and very poor resilience compared to the previous generation, say my generation. Yes, we have given them the environment, so we can't blame them completely. But I would like to say that while I have written a book on parenting, my second book is also coming out on childhood trauma and recovery, my biggest passion and reason for writing the book is to reach out to parents and the younger generation to say that you are the future, you are the basis on which our country will achieve the growth that we wish to achieve, but you cannot ignore mental health. And mental health does not just mean, oh, I have anxiety, oh, I have childhood trauma, so I can't work, because so many young people are not even working. For me, the focus has to be building emotional resilience, because it is only when the youth has resilience can they achieve what we expect them to achieve. By resilience, I mean emotional resilience. So on one side, we have parents who are becoming very overprotective. Like, oh my God, my child has not completed homework, no problem. The teacher can't scold the children. We cannot do anything. Most parents think they can't even discipline the children, but it is these children that are going to go out into the world and face the world. So in my reply to your question is that yes, Gen Z is our future. They have a mental health challenge. They have a lot of issues because of which they are not able to be as productive and as big contributors to our economic growth as the previous generation. But the focus should be on helping them build emotional resilience, which can help them survive and thrive in spite and despite of the environment. Okay, so my message to parents is that don't try to insulate your children from environment and stressors, because that is not going to make them strong. What is going to make them strong is a very mindful parenting approach where you can expose them to the right kind of stressors, to the right kind of challenges so that they become emotionally resilient. The answer is not in protecting them from challenges. And my message to Gen Z is that do not blame, shame, or do not use your childhood trauma, because I'm the one who talks about childhood trauma the loudest on internet, on the social media. But I also say in the same voice that it is not an excuse to get away with not doing things. It is not an excuse to get away from the stressors and from the challenges that the world is going to throw at you. So work on building emotional resilience so that you can survive and thrive in spite and despite of whatever the environment is throwing at you. And that is the mark of a healthy, resilient, regulated adult who can contribute meaningfully to their own lives, to their families, and to the society.
There's a lot of hope there. Thank you, Riri. Same question to you, Vijender ji.
Right,
Can Gen Z be prepared for tomorrow?
Sujata ji, while I'll not disagree with whatever Riri has just said, it is all important. And there is a disclaimer. Riri mostly worked with maybe the teenage and the younger thing, and my work primarily is with the aspirations and dreams of the people who are, the aspirational youth. Late teens or early 20s. उसके basis पर जो understanding मेरी है, उसमें let us start with a very basic thing. How do we define Gen Z? Gen Z is technically defined with a generation that has not seen a pre-internet times, right? The very definition is technology. It's the technology is defining what a Gen Z is. And when you're parenting somebody who is from that generation, the biggest problem is not the bacha, it is the parents. Because for times immemorial, हम लोगों ने ये मानकर चला है कि the greatest asset a parent has about parenting a child or more than one child is their own life, their own experiences. Unfortunately, this is one generation where these things are redundant. I'm so sorry. I mean, whatever we learned or whatever we went through, we generally believed कि हमारे पास जो बुरे experiences थे, उनसे बच्चों को बचा ले, और जो हमारे अच्छे experiences थे, let us give more of these experiences, and the child is reared. Unfortunately, that will not work here, because what we had in our times is by definition different what Gen Z is having. That is one thing. For example, we all know that the social media thing, both of us are there. The social media is not the mobile phone is not a small TV. You cannot at all apply whatever your experiences about TV thing was on the mobile. You cannot. As a matter of fact, the very idea that the agency of shaping dreams of the aspirations of Gen Z lies with either the parents or with the person himself or the teacher is slightly misplaced. Nowadays, unfortunately, even the child himself has very little agency about his own dreams and aspirations. It's something else which is curating their dreams, which is algorithms, not even the content on the social media, trust me. Content of the social media is only a product. What lies behind that content are those algorithms which none of us really understand. Both creators and their teams keep working. Kya naya ho gaya algorithms mein? Let's do something new for new algorithms. And these algorithms, unfortunately, are shaping the dreams and aspiration of the Gen Z. So the agency does not lie anymore with the parent, with the teacher, or with the student, I mean the child himself. It lies somewhere else. And we were never prepared for something like it. I mean, in our generation, it was very clear. Television pareshan kar raha hai, thappad mara, television band kar diya, bacha theek ho gaya. I mean, we used to believe it, right? None of it's gonna work. None of it's gonna work. As Riri rightly pointed out, you cannot remove the Gen Z from the internet, because the very definition of Gen Z is that he or she is the product of the internet. So these algorithms, one, I mean, to mention, but overall it is that we do not exercise, we do not have that kind of agency over our own next generation. Neither as a teacher, I'm a teacher, neither as a parent, I'm a parent, and neither the student or the child himself. It lies somewhere else, and that's the problem.
Riri, do you agree with Vijender ji that really parents ultimately, in the ultimate analysis, do not have that kind of influence on the Gen Z or young people anymore?
Yes, I agree. This is for parents who have given phones and social media accessibility early on to children. And I agree with the part that, yes, they are all driven by algorithms. Say in my generation, for example, I was getting influenced by parents, then my school friends, then maybe friends in my college, and some things that I saw on TV. But today's generation, a boy sitting in a remote village in West Bengal can have access to what another boy is doing in Greenland or in Venezuela or in Germany and compare. So clearly, there is so much of access to information, which in turn brings anxiety, stress. Today's generation is more stressed about environment, world, global politics, geopolitics, sustainability. We didn't even know these words when we were growing up. So the challenges of Gen Z are different. The solutions will also have to be different. The research that I have done also shows that every single extra hour spent by any generation on internet, on social media, using phones is multiplying the times that they are getting anxiety and depression, the possibility of getting anxiety, depression. But having said that, I would also say that today, social media and phone addictions is not limited to Gen Z. In fact, I've seen a different trend because I am mother to a son who is 22, daughter who is 26. Both are Gen Z. Now they are reversing.
Millennials by definition. They're millennials by definition,
no.
not Gen
After
Z.
96 is Gen Z. So my daughter is 99, born in 2004. After 2010 is Gen Alpha. Okay, so these both are Gen Zs. But I would like to definitely say that my generation is now getting addicted to social media. I'm seeing my mother who is 90 more on the phone and social media than the new generation. But this Gen Z is now also changing the trend. I'm seeing they are having apps which keep them off the phone. My son uninstalled the Instagram and Facebook from his phone multiple times before I did. Then he would bring it and
to avoid watching you again and again?
No. So I think they are also very aware because the same social media is telling them what is the pitfall of being on social media. It's the same social media that is telling them what harm it is doing to them. So I love this generation because this is an amazing bunch of people who are so aware, so smart. They have all the tools. It's just a matter of using them correctly, which I think a lot of them are already doing. So I have huge hope, and I'm very gung-ho about this generation, actually.
Okay, both of you have huge hopes. Otherwise, you would not have written these books.
I do have great hopes with the Gen Z. I'm only disappointed with the parents of Gen Z, to be honest.
Yeah, but parents, I would like to say, so my book says this book won't teach you parenting, because if you start parenting from the traditional parenting, like he rightly said, if you have a Nokia phone and you are trying to parent a child with a smartphone, iPhone, that parenting styles don't work. So parents also have to
Okay,
learn
so,
to...
so my next question was about parenting. So you've written about parenting styles, 4 kinds of parenting styles, etc. So in your experience as a practitioner, and I'm going to ask the same question to you, uh, which is the predominant parental style which you come across, and what do you have to say about them?
Stark difference in 2 generations. My generation, clients who come to me for therapy, they have mostly had parents who have the authoritarian parenting style. So my generation has grown up with belt treatment, punishments, threats, my way or highway, one-way communication, highly authoritarian, discipline, violent-based parenting. And a lot of them say, well, that's worked for us, but that's a different point. The new generation parents, so the parents who are now the parents of 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds are completely polarized. So they are now going more and more for the permissive parenting, which is a complete polarized opposite of authoritarian, where they say, no rules, you do what you want, my child can do what he or she wants, she doesn't have to study, she doesn't have to submit her homework, what's the big deal? The whole house revolves around this one child. Who is so special. So again, research shows that both these extreme styles have their own extreme outcomes. Those who grew up with a lot of authority, discipline, abusive parenting have their own set of challenges, like addictions and depression and rebelliousness, etc. Those children today I'm seeing who are growing with permissive parenting are entitled, spoiled, self-centered, not able to take responsibility for their actions. They do not have discipline. The teachers and educators are highly stressed because they cannot say anything because the next thing they know is the child is going to jump out or self-harm. So these children have grown up with not hearing a no, not having boundaries and rules. So these are both extreme parenting styles that I'm seeing, which is polarizing our society. The balanced one is what is required. A good mix of discipline, authority, boundaries, control, and receptivity, two-way communication, and love. And that does not come naturally. So both these styles are very easy. It's easy to give one thappat to your child or, say, ke bhoot aa jayega, kha lo, and finish off the work. It's very easy to be permissive and say, kuch mat karo, it's okay, just do what you want. Both these styles are very easy. They are shortcuts. The toughest is the right kind of parenting, which is authoritative or balanced, which is what I've mentioned in my book, and that requires the parents to do some hard work.
So it's the parent who's the problem, not Gen Z, right? Okay. What is your experience of parents?
To be honest,
Yeah.
I will not say that only the parents are the problem. It's a mix of many things. Let us face it. ये भी समझिए कि हमारी जो जनरेशन है जिनके बच्चे ये जेनजी हैं, they have suffered a lot. They have suffered a lot. Technological onslaught जो उन पर रहा है. We were the first generation who have seen technology coming and going in the same generation. I mean, we all saw facsimile machine coming, fax coming and going. We saw many technologies coming and going in the same generation. Earlier, it never used to be the case. So technology was not a player when we were being groomed. लेकिन मतलब सही है, टेलीविजन आ रहा है, रेडियो आ रहा है, ये सब होता था, लेकिन वो काफी दिन तक रहता था. अब इस वजह से हमारे पास कोई टेम्पलेट नहीं है to fall on. And that's why my problem, however, is कि the very same parents we are saying so many nasty things about, वो parents भी बेचारे लगातार इसी social media से बार-बार सीख रहे हैं कि आज रिरी ने ये कहा है. Somebody else today said the same thing. For example, my wife keep ringing my daughter who's abroad कि ये खाना है, ये पीना है, क्योंकि some influencer is saying कि food influencer ये बता रहा है. और we try and imitate lot of things from the sources which were either not available earlier, or the thing is we do realize that हमें किसी और चीज़ की ज़रूरत है, and we do not have that kind of support. Because हमारी से पिछली पीढ़ी को ये नहीं होता था कि उन्हें parenting सीखनी है. I do remember when I was studying education in Central Institute of Education, we had the teacher who said कि when I learned a lot of learning theories, so when I started as a mother, I had 3 learning theories and no kids. Now I've got 3 kids and no learning theories. because the fact is that जो theoretical aspect होते हैं वो एक limit के बाद help नहीं कर पाते. But I do agree with Riri on the fact that let us not adopt any extreme. That is so unfair. पहली बात. और दूसरी बात ये भी है, मैं चूँकि मैं ज़्यादा बड़े बच्चों के साथ डील करता हूँ, तो मेरी जो समझ है वो तो ये है कि ये जो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड की बात रीरी ने की थी, unfortunately that is now fast becoming a liability. It has become a demographic liability now because ये क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है? Please understand, it is called a six pocket syndrome. एक बच्चा पैदा हुआ, उसके माँ बाप दोनों अर्निंग है, उनके दोनों चारों ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स अर्निंग है, एंड ही और शी इज द सेंट्रल ऑफ अट्रैक्शन ऑफ एवरीथिंग. तो उसको 6 पॉकेट्स आर देयर फीडिंग अ सिंगल पर्सन. चांसेस आर कि ही और शी विल बी अ स्पॉइल्ड चाइल्ड, बिकॉज उसको कभी नो सुनना नहीं पड़ेगा, उसको बहुत सारे लगातार उसको हार्ड वर्क से बचाया जाएगा, और जब वो मार्केट में जाएगा, जब वो रियल लाइफ में जाएगा, तो वहाँ तो उसे नो सुनना ही पड़ेगा. Then he or she will realize कि ये मेरे साथ क्या हो रहा है. So we need to make sure that we allow this every child to grow in a balanced manner. And it is not just a responsibility of parents. Fact is that the entire ecosystem has to work. Please look at the ecosystem also, which is nurturing this child, kind of schools that have come up, the kind of teaching methodology that's being now advocated, and things like that. Everything gonna matter.
So parents come to you and say, हमारे बच्चे को IPS बना दीजिए, IAS बना दीजिए. आप क्या बोलते हैं?
Can you imagine, मेरे पास अक्सर, and it's almost 20 phone calls or connections every month, जिसमें बेसिक थ्योरी होती है कि मेरा बच्चा 6ठी क्लास में पढ़ रहा है, 6ठी क्लास में और 7वीं क्लास में, उसे IAS बनाने के लिए क्या करूं? I'm more worried about these parents, forget about the kid. These parents are under tremendous stress. पहली बात तो ये मान रहे हैं कि उनके बनाने से बन जाएगा, या विजन चौहान के बताने से बन जाएगा. पहली बात तो यही अपने आप में प्रॉब्लमेटिक है. दूसरी बात, अगर वो चाहेंगे तो बन जाएगा, ये एक और प्रॉब्लमेटिक बात है. यहां तक कि बच्चा चाहेगा तो बन जाएगा, ये भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक बात है. द फैक्ट इज कि रियलिटीज, आई मीन, विजयन चौहान पेरेंट या बच्चे में से कौन इस फैक्ट को बदल देगा कि हर साल 10 लाख लोग अपीयर होंगे, 800 लोग सिलेक्ट होंगे, 150 लोग केवल IAS बनेंगे. इट्स अ स्टैटिस्टिक्स, प्योर मैथमेटिक्स. नो, इसका मतलब क्या, ये सारे बच्चे जिनको ये ड्रीम सो किए गए, either through parenting or through algorithms, they're going to be a stressed child all through their life. और जब वो select होंगे या नहीं होंगे, दोनों ही केस में they'll have sour stories with them. Because जो select होंगे वो भी अपने आप को successful नहीं मानेंगे. Trust me, जो लोग IITs, जिन लोगों के बच्चों ने JEE crack किया है, उनसे आप पूछ सकते हैं. There was a similar pressure about cracking JEE. JEE crack करते हैं. I visit IITs almost every month. वहां पर बच्चे लगातार दुखी हैं, अगेन बिकॉज ऑफ द सेम रीजन. उनको कोई सी ब्रांच नहीं मिली, उनको कोई स्पेसिफिक IIT नहीं मिली, उनको प्लेसमेंट नहीं मिला. सो these pressures, and these are not only the parental pressure, a lot of it is social. ये जो सामाजिक भौकाल बनता है ना, एकदम our reels going डन 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 मजीमो शान शहनशाह, the SDM is there and somebody is opening the gate. These are causing all this stress.
So how do you deal with this demographic liability? Parents who have huge aspirations yet do not know how to handle that.
We tell the parents, work on yourself. In fact, all the parents who bring younger than 12-year-old children to us for therapy, we say, please, first, parents have to work on themselves. Because any child younger than 12 is clearly just a mirror of the parents and their dysfunctions. So we always try to tell the parents, and see, again, this is a big misconception that, because of my social media reels and content, people think I hate parents and I'm always blaming them. No, I'm a parent myself. But my work predominantly is with adults who have been through difficult childhood traumas. So parents, be the way they behave, the way they are looking at their children for their fulfilling their own aspirations, inke piche bhi ek reason hai. Parents who have themselves grown up with, say, bullying, social isolation, poor self-worth, don't want their children to go through that. And hence, oftentimes, they are projecting their fears and their pressures on this child. Right? So parents also have a reason why they are the way they are. So I always look at parents with compassion. And at the same time, I do believe that parents don't have the tools to know, they know what they shouldn't do. But parents don't know what they should do instead. So parents who have grown up with a generation of a certain type of parenting know that that method is not going to work with this generation. But then what will work? They don't know that. Where do they learn it? Is there any college for parenting? Is there a school for parenting? The only reference they have is their own parents, who have a completely different worldview. In fact, most parents don't want to parent their children the way they were parented. Most of them. they say हमारे parents ने जो किया हमें तो हमारे बच्चों के साथ ऐसा करना ही नहीं है. तो फिर क्या करना है? So there is a gap that I'm trying to address through my social media. And I would also tell parents that always, and that is again coming back to the title of my book, that you cannot learn parenting, but you can just continuously work on being a better parent by always trying to look within, understand where your drivers are coming from, where your fears are coming from, where your insecurities are coming from, and working on those. So you can allow your child to be who he or she is born to be, and not an extension of your dreams and aspirations. So many parents have told me, ma'am, I was brought up with a belt treatment. I'm not hitting my child with a belt, but when I get angry, वो थप्पड़ तो निकल ही जाता है, and I feel guilty after that कि मुझे नहीं मारना चाहिए था, but I'm not able to stop myself. So I believe parents are themselves victims. Parents are themselves oftentimes carrying their traumas and burdens, and they are doing things they don't really want to do, but they can't help themselves. So I really think that if we want to impact the Gen Z, we want to help the Gen Z, the first place to start is their parents. To help parents heal themselves, heal their traumas, change their perceptions, change their lenses through which they have been trained to look at the world, to look at success, to look at relationships. And when that happens, automatically that will help the children also change. Because ultimately, we are all carrying that ancestral pattern through genes, through behaviors, through energy, through the environment. So I believe always we start with the parents.
So coming to the environment, one of the biggest issues or facts about the environment today is the phone, social media, and both of you have written about it. You say about 4 hours or so probably is allowed, and you say about 4 to 6 hours because it's part of the ecosystem. I work with about 3,000 children. I really find this something that each one of us struggles with. Is 4 hours of screen time a healthy thing or not? And if it is not, what do you do?
So this 4 hours has not come from anywhere. It has come from a lot of research that I have done in my 7 years of doctoral studies. So research shows that anything less than 4 hours does not have a significant impact. Now, by 4 hours of phone usage, I don't mean 4 hours of social media. I mean 4 hours of phone which is used for doing assignments, doing internet research, Googling up stuff, doing your Zoom calls, etc. So 4 hours of phone usage is what research says is still manageable, looking at the generation we are living in and this AI and everything that's changing. But anything more than 4, so every subsequent increased hour has a multiplier effect on the mental health. So I to believe, well, and again it is age-wise, like you can't give 4 hours to a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old. So again, as parents, I think that we have to be very pragmatic about this. Any child less than 5 or 6, I believe, should not even touch the phone, honestly, because they don't need to. There is enough in the environment at home and around to learn from, to develop social skills, because phone is killing the social skills. Children have social anxiety today, which never was present pre the phone generation. So yes, but as the child goes to school, and after COVID, we had a lot of parents working from home. Parents are using computer, phone, internet. You can't keep the children completely away from them. So again, as the child grows older, the time can increase. But again, with monitoring, with keeping the parental controls, and also making sure that age-appropriate content is being viewed. So I think we cannot completely deny our children from this, because if they are comparing with the world children from all over the world, if they are going to go to, competitions where they are pitted against other kids, if they want to be working globally, they have to have technology. They are born into technology, so we cannot deny them. But yes, क्या एज है और उस एज पे कितना देना चाहिए, उसमें भी फोन वर्सेस सोशल मीडिया, वो डिस्क्रिशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट अकॉर्डिंग टू मी. And I think parents and educators, schools have a role to play, but I think as a community, I mean, Australia has already come up with a rule. So many Scandinavian countries are coming up with this clear rule on should not give phone to younger than this age and should not have social media access. I think India really, really should do this. It's high time, because a parent in isolation cannot do this. He will become the bad parent. The child will learn to deceive, tell lies. I know with my daughter, we had firstborn children, we are always very enthused. So with my daughter who was firstborn, I said, 10 o'clock, Wi-Fi band, hamare ghar pe, okay? Then she would say, I want to go for a walk and all. I was like, okay, she's going for a walk. She would actually go for a walk just to catch the Wi-Fi of a friend's house. And then she told me this after 3 years, when it was safe to tell me that, you told me no Wi-Fi, but I still managed to get it because uska Wi-Fi niche tak aata tha. Now, these kids are smarter than us. They are going to outsmart us if
Why
we
are
really...
you saying it with such a surprised tone?
I was surprised back.
Kids are supposed to be smarter than us.
I know. So they will outsmart us. So always my thing is find the balance and be smart ourselves. We have to keep being smarter so that we can at least keep up to them. And build connections so they don't have to lie and deceive like my daughter did. So with my second child, I was wiser. I didn't have such stupid rules. But I just kind of kept a good balance of control. So I think, again, comes back to parents. We have to be a little wiser and smarter and technologically equipped to handle them.
So, social media in the ecosystem, what do you have to say about that?
See, as I said, since I deal with grown-up, young adults actually, उनके बेसिस पर जो मेरी समझ है वो ये है कि रिरी राइटली पॉइंटेड आउट कि एक समय के बाद रूल्स वोंट मैटर. अल्टीमेटली इट इज़ the consumption of the content that is important, because ये हमारे जिन उम्र के बच्चों से मैं डील करता हूँ वे इंटरनेट का इस्तेमाल मल्टीपल चीज़ों के लिए करते हैं, जिनमें से बहुत सारी चीज़ें उनके लिए यूज़फुल हैं. इट्स लाइक वर्किंग, बिकॉज दे आर वर्किंग, they are studying for 8 hours, 10 hours a day for competitive examination, and most of the time what they surf net is for the content which is relevant to them. But it is also important to understand that हम जो बच्चों को consume करने के लिए कह रहे हैं, it has changed a lot in last 5-7 years. Just 5-7 years I'm talking about. It's not just internet anymore. It is AI. Now it is artificial intelligence which is deciding the content for you. Not just the chat GPT, which is obviously is AI, but not the generative AI, but everything else. So इसलिए it is important, especially in young adults, to understand that they should have, as I say, they should have critical thinking abilities to decide कि वो क्या देखेंगे या पढ़ेंगे और क्या नहीं पढ़ेंगे. As a parent, our responsibility is to ensure that the person has this critical thinking ability. Please understand, in our classrooms in the university, the biggest, इस समय जो सबसे बड़ी मुसीबत हम लोग झेल रहे हैं वो ये है कि हमारे विद्यार्थियों में, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स में ये जो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग एबिलिटी, ये तय कर पाने की क्षमता या एजेंसी कि उन्हें क्या कंज्यूम करना है, क्या कंज्यूम नहीं करना है, वो मिसिंग है या कम होती जा रही है.
So that's the problem. We see it all the time. They are only preparing for exams, learning by heart, curriculum bound, उसमें कितना नंबर मिला इंग्लिश में, मैथ्स में. How do you develop critical thinking ability?
Well, as a teacher, as a university teacher, this is the biggest challenge. I mean, it is where these the places like this become so important. I mean, even symbolically, it is important to understand that Alipur jail was the place where the bodies were confined. But here, Arvindo actually was transformed because the mental space is not jailed. The fact is now that liberty is now taken away. अब आपकी bodies free हैं, लेकिन आपके सोचने के सारे रास्ते बंद किए हुए हैं. अब they're controlled. I mean, we don't even realize कि हम किन विषयों को चीज पर कंटेंट कंज्यूम करेंगे, वो तक कंट्रोल्ड है. The only way we can build this critical thinking ability in our student is to make them actually think opposite to what the algorithms are asking them to. I mean, literature is a wonderful tool for that. Other things, for example.
Design.
Huh.
Like my son is studying design.
Yeah,
So that gives a lot of creative thinking and problem
many
solving.
things. I mean,
but there also they use AI still for certain things.
just human interaction, for example, is so important. आप वाकई अपने से भिन्न लोगों के बीच जाकर बैठें और बात करें. People unlike you. It is so important to, it is fast becoming difficult, I mean, even in the society, to bear, to tolerate people unlike us, which is so problematic. इसलिए जब तक हम अपने बच्चों को ये समझ देने में सफल नहीं होंगे कि वे खुद चीज़ों का परीक्षण कर सकें, टेस्टिंग कर सकें, फैक्ट चेक कर सकें, और the WhatsApp kind of stuff, WhatsApp is not that popular among students now, but there are other similar tools. अगर हम उनके लिए critical thinking हम नहीं दे पाएंगे, then unfortunately the generation is doomed.
What do you tell parents about critical thinking, and how can it be developed? I mean, that's a big issue. He's absolutely right. We find that all the time.
I think by the time they become teenagers, it's too late. This is something that you can start doing with children from a very young age, like literally age-appropriate thinking. Allow them to solve problems. Parents are so happy to jump and solve the child's problems, right? Simple thing like if your child is in a playground. I don't remember my parents ever coming to check me if I was pushed by somebody or hit by somebody, or how did I manage my playground negotiations and activities. But today mothers are sitting there like hawks. If there is any problem between two kids, they want to jump in and solve. Now, how is this child going to ever learn how to negotiate, how to talk, how to manage bully? And that is where the start of this thinking, social thinking and critical thinking happens. At home, if there is a problem, I always tell parents, throw it back to the child. Ask 5 questions, but don't give an answer. If the child comes with a problem, okay, I don't have time and I have to submit my homework. Now the parent will instantly say, okay, let's do this, you don't do this and do that. The child is not going to think. This is a problem with this generation today. Young parents who are over-enthusiastic parents, and in the process, the children have no freedom to make mistakes, to fail, and to learn. So if the child doesn't have time and has to submit homework, parents should say, okay, so what do you think you should do? What is your solution? Is there any other way out? What would your friend do in this situation? Okay, I would do this. What would you want to do? Okay, but if you do this, what do you think your teacher will say? So when you ask these questions, you are training a child's brain to think differently. But again, like I said, parents need patience for this. Simple things. If the house में अगर machine बंद हो गया है, let the child be curious to understand क्या बंद हो गया है, कैसे करना है, मम्मी कैसे इसको solve करती है. So I think it starts young. By the time they are in their teens, they are pretty much out of our hands. In fact, they are with school, they are doing all these things on the phone and social media. So by the time, if their critical thinking is not developed, they will be the first ones to get addicted to social media and to take help of Snapchats to do their homework, or AI to do their assignments and submissions. So I think start young. And as a child, as a parent, have the courage to see your child fail, fall, get hurt, get bruised. I tell parents their biggest fear is मेरा बच्चा fail नहीं होना चाहिए. So many parents I say, एक साल अगर 5th standard में fail हुआ तो what is your biggest fear? Oh, he'll be left behind. Parents need to understand failures also teach so much if you handle it well without killing the child's self-worth and without making the child feel ashamed, right? So I again think it comes back to parenting and educators, how much of hands-on experience you can give your children. Can you let your children go? Can you let your children be independent without the fear? A very nice book, one was The Anxious Generation. I think all parents should read it. Brilliant book on how we have literally clipped the wings of our children because of technology and our own insecurities. So I think this is the solution.
This Riri just mentioned about being prepared to fail is something that I've been advocating for many years now.
Yes.
Because it has become such a big problem. Please understand, only this year I interviewed a candidate, cleared JEE earlier, got into IIT Kanpur, which is a very good IIT, computer science, everything. And when he started appearing in the civil services exam. So he never failed. That's the idea. So when he started appearing for civil services, first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, and by the time fourth attempt, ideally he should have quit, right? Because teaching to learn to accept failures is something that was missing in his personality. तो उसके बाद वो जिद्दी हो गया वो बच्चा, and you can understand that almost the whole life was ruined of a very meritorious student, and it happens every year. हम हर साल ऐसे बच्चों को देखते हैं जिन्हें हार को स्वीकार करना या एग्जिट प्लान का होना कि भाई ये ठीक है, दिस इज समथिंग आई वांट टू डू, आई विल ट्राई फॉर 1 year, 2 years, 3 years एंड देन आई विल क्विट. ये नहीं सिखा पाते हम, क्योंकि हमें उन बच्चे के फेलियर में अपना भी फेलियर दिखाई दे रहा होता है. हमें लगता है कि ये कैसे हो सकता है, मेरा सबसे प्यारा बच्चा, सबसे मेहनती बच्चा, इसका नहीं होगा तो किसका होगा. इट डजंट वर्क लाइक दैट.
And bache pick up from the conversation of the parents. You can't lecture a child that learned from failure. In fact, kids learn maximum things from experiences and observing parents, not by lectures. So you may lecture the child on failure, but till the child doesn't experience the failure, and if the child is always listening to the parents talking, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, we can't let him fail. So many mothers take leave from work, and I ask them, किसकी exam है? बच्चे का 10th board है. बच्चे का है कि आपका है? Then they start laughing. बोले फिर भी मैडम लेना पड़ता है. I'm like, see, so the children also feels burdened that if my mother has taken a break for me, I better pass. It doesn't become about the child, it becomes about the mother and the father. I know fathers telling their wives, you are so educated, you gave up a career, you gave up all your career to raise this one child, और ये भी ठीक से नहीं हो रहा है, तुम्हारा बच्चा मैथ्स में आज 10 में से 5 लेके आया है. And the mother thinks that it is my failure. No, it's your child's marks. And this only tells you that at this point of time, your child has only understood 50% of what is being taught. That doesn't mean anything beyond that, right? But we don't see the marks that way. We see it like a label and a character assessment, which is a problem.
This is because probably we see our child as trophies to be won and shown.
So I have many more questions, but I think we have just about 4 minutes left. So are there any questions from the audience? Anybody would like to ask a question? All right, can a mic go to the questionnaire?
My question is for Vijender, sir. Sir, based on your experience, what mindset differences do you observe between a successful UPSC or a SSC serial candidate and those who work hard but still don't get selected?
Well, this book has a whole chapter. The chapter talks about the myth of being a UPSC material. Please understand this idea that there exists a set of traits which is suitable for a UPSC or any competitive examination thing. It comes from this colonial trait theory which said that administrators should have certain traits. But a democracy like ours, trust me, if you talk about certain set of traits, अगर आपको लगता है कि कुछ गुणों का समुच्चय तय करता है कि you are a UPSC material or not, in a democracy it doesn't work like that. Please understand, there's nobody is UPSC material or everybody is UPSC material, because we are a diverse society. We would like to have all sort of traits in any administrator. It is true that certain things are obviously good for cracking the examination. For example, the consistency gonna work if you are consistently working, if you have a good ecosystem. But these are only, I'll say, the minor variables in a very complex equation. Major variables, unfortunately, are not talked about, are privileges and deprivations. Your privileges, the privileges you're coming from, the ecosystem you had in the family. What was your father? Which social category you belong to? Are you a Muslim person or a man or a woman or a upper caste or a lower caste? These factors, which are about your privileges and deprivations, contribute more to this complex equation than your individual traits. But since these are beyond your control, so you can only talk about the traits you can control, and these are your personality traits. In these, we generally talk about consistency as one, analytical ability and critical thinking abilities as another, and your sensitivity when it comes to the personality test and the interview sections. But please understand, as I said, never ever believe that you are not a UPSC material, because that's a myth. This myth is being propagated so that you ensure that there's a standard UPSC material and you lie somewhere here and there is a gap. Once a gap is kind of established, then there'll be companies coming saying we can fill this gap. join our course, this gap will be filled. And the problem with this is that even if you join the course, if you get selected, they'll say, okay, we were able to fill the gap. And if you're not selected, you'll say, oh, I was not the UPSC material, I am to be blamed. Please understand, no success is individual, no failure or not being successful is individual. There's a whole ecosystem that works for it, and you should not be victim blaming for not being able to not being successful. And similarly, these traits are also social products.
Riri, you've also written about privileges and deprivations and parenting styles or the impact it has on the child. You want to add to what Vijender ji has said?
I would say that I would completely agree with what he said. Success and failure are, dependent on so many factors. So making a child feel that you are solely responsible for making it, or not just UPSC, for any exam for that matter, when he's pitched against everybody. If there are 10 smarter people than the child will not be able to come at the top, right? So many factors play a role. I only want to emphasize that from childhood, if we can only tell children that they teach a little bit of contentment along with competitiveness, again, a healthy balance. We don't want a child to be so content that the child doesn't have any motivation to do anything in life. And then we don't want the child to be like example you give, so stubborn or so much, ambitious that it causes the child to not be able to face failure, because so many factors play a role. So teaching that balance to children, and the only way is by letting them experience it at a younger age when the repercussions are much more milder. So if children learn to fail, fall, learn that there are many things beyond their own then at a younger age, in 5th grade, 10th grade, the child will be able to handle bigger failures in a better way. Versus making sure the child succeeds. मतलब बच्चा मेरे हाथ में था तब तक तो बच्चा कभी fail नहीं हुआ. अभी अपने आप पढ़ने लगा तो fail हो गया. That is your failure as a parent, I think, So children, when the consequences are less, you can let your children, experience all this. So when the consequences are bigger, they are more resilient.
Thank you, Riri Trivedi and Vijender Chauhan ji. Thank you. That was a very, very important discussion. I wouldn't say interesting discussion, but time's up. So we have to have those questions, offline. Yeah.
I mean, asking this question in itself is kind of a torture, isn't it? I mean, does it matter? Does it matter? If a person qualifies, there are 99.9 other who will not qualify. Doesn't matter, to be honest.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the audience too for listening so intently. Thank you.